AITA for telling my parents we are moving via text? A saga of breaking away from toxic parents. I am not the original poster. That is you, wandering aimlessly 9. She posted in r, Am I the Asshole? R, Toxic Parents, and r, Relationship Advice. She clarified her gender in a different post. I added a few extra paragraph breaks for readability. Trigger warning. Intentionally exposing a minor to an allergen. Gaslighting. Less than. Mood spoiler. Frustrating, but oops, seems to be heading in a good direction. Less than. Original post. July 19, 2023. Long story short, my parents have a history of lying, gaslighting, manipulation and such. Previously it was in regards to my little having celiac and them swearing to follow the diet they know well, but then sneaking her foods with gluten while lying to her they were gluten-free. We put them in timeout for a month or two, then had a discussion with them. They were allowed to speak when asking questions for clarification. In that we set a lot of boundaries, which would be loss of grandparent privileges if they didn't follow. They keep all grandkids every Friday night. BC families should stick together and they want to see them and spend time with them. Plus, it gives you guys a break. It does not give me a break. What I get is 34 hours of round-trip driving to meet my parents halfway and then waiting for them to call, only to have to drop things at the last second. BC, they know we live further but won't give us an hour heads up like we have repeatedly asked for. So I can't plan anything on Saturdays. Then, driving round trip for another 3+ hours. Not to mention cost of gas. But they like spending time with their cousins, so we do it. Also note that the older grandkids only go to see each other, so if my kids don't go, my sisters' kids don't go, which means grandparents get 0 Friday night kids. Last night my mom called. My dad had a mild heart attack. He's fine, she said. His ejection fraction was 35% and he was in congestive heart failure. He's on meds that are dropping his blood pressure, but the doctors are working on it. Of course I wanted to know what hospital. Oh no, you don't understand. Dad is fine. This happened 46 months ago. They got the diagnosis 4 months ago. After talking to my mom and processing thing, I realized something important. My dad picks my kids up on Fridays. My dad watched my little for a week at their insistence when I had to take the oldest to get medical care. He was alone with a 5-year-old and no other adults. I calmly clarify with my mom that they've known for months and are just now feeling the desire to tell me when he's been driving my children around all this time. Well, yes. And we knew you were going to do this. I informed her that I had a right to know because it is my responsibility to make an informed decision about what situations my children are put in. My mom blew it off. She likes to gaslight, telling me they would never put my children in danger or harm them. I asked her what would have happened had Dad had a heart attack and wrecked, killing my children. She then ended the conversation saying if I was going to be like this she couldn't talk to me. I wished her well and ended the call. DH. Editor's note: DH usually stands for Dear Husband on these subs. Said a 3-month timeout and after that we could talk. He feels 3 months would teach them that we are serious. I'm so lost and I won't deny it. I'm pissed. I want to mourn my dad's failing health, but I'm too pissed off that they took my decisions away. BC. They know better. It was a manipulation and it's more gaslighting. My parents both came from really bad homes. If someone had called CPS back, then they would have done an emergency order on my dad's parents. They tried so hard to not continue the abusive and did really well. This is part of why I'm torn. I know they are trying. But their trying isn't good enough anymore. Post in Relationship Advice. July 27, 2023. 1 week later. Editor's note: I removed some of the paragraphs that repeated the information in the above post. Title: I caused my dad's heart attack. 40F. 65 meters. What do I do? Following her telling her mom they were in timeout from seeing the kids. Well, she didn't tell my dad. So dad kept asking if the girls were coming this weekend. Finally I responded and said, per my convo with mom last week, it was decided the girls will be staying home for the foreseeable future. Accusations started flying on his behalf, where he informed me he didn't want me to know because I caused his heart attack. I explained to him the 10 months of lying by omission is why the timeout is in place. I informed him I get to decide if he was healthy enough to drive my children after a heart attack. And in CHF, if anyone in the family has a right to decide who drives their children around, it would be me, the RN who is their mom. I also told him gaslighting would stop. I was the bigger person and didn't say, I didn't cause your CHF because I didn't give you your genetics and I didn't give you the food you ate for the past 60 plus years. I didn't make you weigh 350 pounds or convince you to smoke for 30 years. I didn't make you sedentary for the past 5 years. Those are all on you. I'm even refusing to finish reading his message and the additional ones he sent. Seriously, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. He's denying they ever gave her gluten. He denies the convo where he admitted to it, or the multiple times we caught him and educated where he said he wouldn't. We think he's developing dementia as he has had many head injuries over the years. Head-on collision at 55 miles per hour. Falling off an oil rig 30 feet up. Not sure how he survived those. I have questioned my mom before anything happened in November about dad forgetting things and she denies. It's saying you forget things when you're older. But yeah, they are in timeout and will no longer have unsupervised access to the kids. I'm just lost. I want a relationship with my parents. They are getting old. They will be dying soon. But this isn't healthy. Relevant comments. How did you cause the heart attack? And could they both have early onset dementia? Apparently the cause of the heart attack was when I told them they were poisoning her and it could kill her. I totally get it. They may both be. I haven't seen signs in my mom. I see more signs of her denying things, gaslighting. AITA post. September 5th, 2023. 5 weeks later. So here is the gist. My parents don't like rules, boundaries. They think they have the ultimate say in regards to my children. During the pandemic, doctors diagnosed our little with celiac. My parents had been following a gluten-free diet for our oldest, so we didn't think anything of them transitioning the little in their home to the diet. Long story short, we found out, by my dad's own admission, that my parents had been giving my little gluten BCI, want them to be like me and be sick. Eye roll. And if you take a food away for a long time, that's how people develop allergies. Eye roll. We did a timeout so I could cool off. Then we had a come to Jesus meeting where I laid down the law. They agreed to the rules. Any deviation would result in no more unsupervised visits from the kids. Well, 10 months later I found out my dad has had a heart attack and was in congestive heart failure. They hid it for 10 months. Blah blah blah. He's fine. They are justified, because I wouldn't have let the kids go with my dad. Him driving. And they have a right to the kids. He also blamed me for his heart attack, when it was really 23 McDonald's meals every day when he was working. 350 pounds and a sedentary lifestyle. Constant sugar intake. And an overall unhealthy lifestyle that lead to his CHF and heart attack. I reminded them one of the criteria during the gluten discussion was no lying. My dad said it wasn't a lie, BC, they didn't tell us. I reminded him he raised me that leaving out important facts was lying by omission, and this fit that criteria. Then there was him saying I was bitter and trying to control them. I put us in another timeout, BC, I needed a break, and that when the timeout was over, There would only be supervised visits. He still contacted me each week to see if he was coming to get the girls. I ignored BC. Time out. Finally he mentions my nephew acting as if something is wrong only to find out. Nephew wants to know when my kids are coming back. Unexpectedly in the middle of the timeout, my husband got a job and we are moving out of state. Ouch. This has nothing to do with my parents. The timing was an unfortunate consequence. Here is the catch. A few weeks before the pandemic started, my husband discussed a possible move out of the country for his job. That crumbled when the pandemic hit, obviously. However, leading up to it, my parents were throwing a fit. How could you do that to us? We have rights to see our grandchildren. Family comes first no matter what. You are hurting the children by not letting them have regular access to their family. And my favorite, we can sue for grandparent rights. In our state, grandparents have no rights if the parents are married. I don't know about the state we are moving to. I don't want to deal with the accusations. I don't want to deal with the fight. I just want it done and over with. So AITA for doing it by text and not a call? Relevant comments. Clarification on the gluten-free diet and who diagnosed. I apologize. The doctors diagnosed celiac. My parents had been following a gluten-free diet for the oldest, so we assumed it wouldn't be a big deal for my parents to transition the little to the same diet. They follow it for the older one. My father informed me they were giving her small amounts of gluten so she didn't develop an allergy. And that they, my parents, had decided the reason we put her on a gluten-free diet was because I was lonely, being sick, and wanted others, like me. I have allergies and a gluten sensitivity. I do not have celiac. But yeah, sorry for the confusion. Quote, why oldest is gluten-free? She has something similar to celiac called gluten ataxia. Instead of attacking the intestines, it attacks the brainstem. When exposed to gluten, she loses the ability to walk. We do have medical documentation. Never let them be unsupervised with your kids. They will never have unsupervised access again. I have put a full stop to that. My father informed me that he will never do supervised visits, so I sucked it up and did what Reddit said. I kid you not, I did. Then you won't see them again. Any phone calls, any video chats, any mail will all be supervised, including any gifts that come in the mail for them. All will be opened and read, combed through ahead of time. My mom likes to send cards and gifts when they are in trouble. We love you no matter what anyone says. It breaks our hearts that you are away from us. Then she sends a gift that is all girly for the little who is girly, and a super girly gift for the oldest who is a tomboy. She does Rubik's Cubes, Ninja Warrior stuff within her ability, mountain biking, and my mom sends her origami flowers, adult coloring books with girly themes like lipstick and makeup. Everything will be monitored from here on out. Don't give them your new address or let them come visit. It makes me feel bad, but I don't want them to come visit. I have never felt comfortable in the nice homes we've owned. They were all foreclosures and were so beautiful but half the price. I've always felt the need to tell people we could never afford something so nice. My husband said it was bragging, but I honestly never felt like I deserved it. Then my husband asked me, what do you think your parents would say about the new house we picked out? And I said, Mom will tell me it's nice and that she deserves something like this, but my dad never loved her enough to give her something like this. Then my dad will tell me it's nice, but it's going to cause so many problems because my mom will want him to do upgrades to their double wide, and that it will devolve into fights and him spending thousands of dollars for her to say it's not good enough. So thanks. And at that moment I realized, every home, the same reaction. They deserve it more. I don't deserve it. And I realized, they are the reason I never feel like I deserve a nice home. Why do you still keep in contact with them? In all honesty, it wasn't until I joined Reddit and started reading things and saying, "That's toxic as hell, get out. Let me tell you about the time my parents did XYZ." After a few of those responses, I started realizing what my parents were saying they were doing out of love and family obligation was actually toxic. I'm working on it. With each issue I get closer and closer to the no contact. I'm hoping, however fruitless it might be, and I realize it's maybe a 5% chance of getting better. Once I start laying down boundaries, that they will start to realize their actions are inappropriate. And what led to the issues? Update. Same post. September 6, 2023. Next day. Update. Thank you all. I didn't expect the outpouring of love. I am learning how to deal with things. Once we are moved, I will be finding a therapist. Thank you to those who sent me resources to help. I truly do appreciate them. We've decided to tell them after my husband has officially moved, or is about to walk out the door, so he can be there. We will be hanging back a week or two, but he will establish a new residency for us the next day, so we will be official new state residents before they can do anything. They can't get an address, BC. Well, we won't have one yet, lol. We have always taken an approach of you deal with your family and I will deal with mine. But you have helped me see. Once I tell them, he can deal with them. And I'm okay with that. So is he, to clarify. And I will not be embarrassed or ashamed of my new home. It will be beautiful. It will be a dream. It will be a place I make a ton of memories in, and they will not ruin it for me this time. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Every time I see a post like this, I remember the story of the grandmother who killed her grandchild by deliberately feeding her food she was allergic to because she didn't believe in allergies. I think the realest thing about this is how Oop sees the generational issue. Her own grandparents were so awful that in comparison her parents have broken those patterns to an extent. But it takes her a long time to realize that the damage done to her parents resulted in them developing their own toxic behaviors. That's hard to process. Then my husband asked me, "What do you think your parents would say about the new house we picked out?" Quote, the husband really knew what the issues were. As partners so often do. They don't want you to be happy. They want to compare everything, make everyone miserable. I have sympathy for the Oop because she wants to break the cycle of generational trauma, and seems to excuse her parents' toxic behavior with, "At least they're better parents than the ones they got." Which tells me OOP's grandparents were probably complete monsters. Still, this is awful, and I hope she finally cuts the strings. Man, toxic people are some of the worst people. A lot of the comments on here are pretty much victim blaming op. But I honestly just feel bad for her. There's just no real way of knowing just how covertly dysfunctional your family is in situations like this. Especially since it sounds like most of her parents' behavior started later in life for her, after she had kids. I'm glad she's getting out of the fog and that her husband seems to be so supportive. Poor thing is gonna need all the resolve she can get in order to actually cut loose from her toxic family. It is so incredibly hard to escape a toxic family when you don't know what is and is not normal. I feel for Oop, those hooks stay in for a long time. Even with therapy, you constantly have to actively reevaluate your thinking, actions and expectations of others and question what kind of lens you're seeing this situation through. What a trip. The parents just are never concerned about the consequences of any risky behavior? Then they gaslight to say they didn't even do the behavior? Sounds exhausting. Last week we had a call from our city police to assist with opening a car. Arrived to an ambulance already on scene with a number of cruisers. Driver unresponsive in their seat sitting in the fast lane of a busy road at 2 a.m. and when we got it open she was stone dead. Daughter came out and informed us she was a known cardiac patient. Similar to the father in this story. How she didn't hit anybody else I don't know, and the thought of her grandkids being in the car is terrifying. This father is a moron. I'm concerned she is telling them they are moving before they do. She needs to wait until they are gone. I really hope that Op has a wonderful new home and makes a wonderful new life there. Less than 3. Waiting for the inevitable suing for grandparents' rights, where they don't tell their lawyer about the dad's heart condition and gluten issues. Wait, hold on. The grandparents were essentially poisoning her daughter with gluten, and she kept sending her back for nearly a year? And the heart attack was the line? Excuse me? I hope it goes like this. Why didn't you tell us you were moving? We didn't even get to say goodbye. Wah! Quote, we didn't tell you because we knew you were going to be like this. Reddit has taught me many things I wish I knew earlier. Hope Op gets away clean. I really hope Oop and her husband bought their new house under an LLC. Or they can be found via tax records. Seriously, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Of all the frankly maddening things in this post, this is the most maddening one of all. My parents regularly put my kids in danger. They cause stress both to me and to my husband. The kids don't even particularly want to see them. Managing this relationship takes up a substantial chunk of my mental and emotional capacity. I have to keep restating to them and to Reddit that I am the sole decider of how our relationship is managed, regardless of the fact that my inability to maintain boundaries that they'll respect has rendered that assertion basically null and void. But I don't know what to do. Reddit. What should I do? Quote, hope that Oop and family moved quietly, quickly and without incident. NTA. RN? Toxic parents? Feeling like you don't deserve nice things? Tell me you are around 31 and support LGBTQT. We could definitely be friends. I'm the child of a physically and mentally abusive father who also had a childhood that would make Angela's ashes look like the Walton sigh. Get it? When I had my son, my dad wanted to spend time with him and I was nervous. I said yes to a relationship if you can commit to being kind and have patience, and it wasn't until my son was like 5 before I ever let my dad mind him on his own. I also basically threatened him and said if you ever lay a hand on him the law will be the east of your concerns. They'll never find your body. They had the best relationship and he was an amazing grandfather.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. EpicAriaCast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.